Have you ever been scrolling through social media and seen an ad that relates oddly specific to something you had been talking about with a friend? My name is Richard McKercher, and I want to talk about the Facebook and Cambria analytical scandal, where this example can be seen in broad daylight. To begin, let's identify the incident. Facebook is a large social media website used to help connect people across the world, while Cambridge Analytica is a political consulting firm used by political campaigns to help boost their chances at winning an election. This situation involves Cambridge Analytica, who harvested the personal data of over 87 million Facebook users without their knowledge or consent. In an article published by the Bipartisan Policy Center titled Cambridge Analytical Controversy, we get a better understanding of how they were able to do this. So Cambridge Analytica used a third-party app called This Is Your Digital Life, which was used as a personality quiz that people could take. Not only did the data collected come from the people that took the quiz, but it was also from people who were friends with those who took the quiz, which is how the number got so large on the data collecting. It utilized Facebook's Graph API tool, which allows one app to gather data and use features associated with another app. Very useful. However, in this instance, very, very detrimental. It was designed in 2010 and has since been discontinued. It violated the Facebook users' privacy and actually violated Facebook's own privacy policies, yet was still allowed to be exploited by Cambridge Analytica. Most notably, the ads that were run were targeted political ads for the 2016 presidential election. It did influence elections across the world, but the biggest one that we have information on is the US presidential election. Let's now take a look at what actions Facebook decided to do following the release of this information. Facebook's first step of action was to downplay the entire scandal. This move was highly criticized. People did not like that Facebook was denying that they had done any wrongdoing in this. They then tried to flip it on to Cambria Analytica, saying they had been the ones to misuse this data. That Facebook was not in the wrong. They were still within their terms of service. Public outcry eventually led to Mark Zuckerberg, their CEO, being forced to make an appearance before Congress, where they grilled him relentlessly about this topic. This forced Facebook to make changes, including greater transparency about the data that they collect, new tools for users to help control what their privacy settings look like, and then a stricter third-party app review process. According to an article in the Harvard Business Review titled Building an Ethical Company, companies can utilize something that I think Mark Zuckerberg should have here, which is premortems that can help prevent ethical lapses like this. A premortem is when key decision makers meet to discuss potential ethical issues that can be caused by situations that they have in their company. Let's look at how Facebook could allow this to happen. What does their decision-making process look like that could have allowed such a situation to happen? According to a Texas ScholarWork article, Facebook's business model is free to use and paid for by advertisers. This means they rely heavily on advertising revenue. This also means that Facebook must gather as much personal data as they can in order to sell it to advertisers. When we look at corporate culture, let's look at the PubMed Central article titled Managing Organizational Ethics. In that article, it is said that culture influences the degree to which ethics become embedded in an organization. For Facebook, that culture is expansion and growth rather than privacy protection. This is very important when you look at the situation that Facebook found themselves in. They were so focused on growing as a company rather than protecting the data that they were gathering that they ended up overstepping their boundaries. This is also partially due to the fact that there isn't a lot of regulation for the social media and the big tech industry at the moment. Let's now take a look at the ethical analysis and theories involving this situation. The ethics of deontology tell us that Facebook had a moral obligation to protect its users and the data it had collected. However, Facebook failed to do so. They failed by gross oversight on internal systems to prevent their data from leaking. Additionally, utilitarianism has us question the cost and benefits of Facebook's actions. Facebook failed to safeguard their data in a manner that protected its users. The harm from manipulating voters also far outweighed any of the benefits that Facebook could see from financial gain. According to an article written in The Atlantic, success by the standard of Facebook's algorithm is determined by what produces the most engagement. However, this algorithm isn't based in ethical decision making. What about virtue ethics and stakeholder theory? Virtue ethics focuses on the moral character of an organization and the impact it has on its stakeholders. For Facebook, a lack of action is the thing we need to focus on, as it shows a failure to act with integrity, transparency, and responsibility. It is even considered that the appearance before Congress by Mark Zuckerberg was far too insufficient for the magnitude of the case at hand. Facebook also is criticized for its slow admittance to the role it had, and this is another knock against the virtue theory. When we look at the stakeholder theory, however, we have a couple different categories to look at. First, the users, who were the primary victims. They were the ones that suffered the most with their data being breached and their loss of trust in Facebook. Advertisers may have also been impacted indirectly, whether they knew or didn't know about the unethical decisions that Facebook had decided to do in regards to their data. Regulators also had to step in to implement better oversight on these big tech industries. Facebook's employees started to have to question whether the company they were working for was of good moral character. And lastly, society in general and the general corrosion of trust in social media, trust in the internet, trust in technology. Lastly, let's examine where Facebook is now. What's the current situation look like for Facebook? While this case is a little bit older, Facebook is still feeling the effects of the Cambria Analytica scandal. Most notably, Facebook faced a $5 billion fine from the FTC following the congressional hearing. This $5 billion fine at the time was the largest fine ever imposed by the FTC on a company for violating privacy guidelines. According to the BBC, actually, as recently as 2022, Meta, which now owns Facebook, just settled a $725 million class action case. That class size in the class action is estimated to be anywhere from 250 to 280 million people. Their stock prices initially took a pretty big hit. However, due to their user size and their advertising revenue, their stock has since recovered, but they did take a hit right after this incident occurred. What did not recover was their reputation. Their reputation remains severely damaged. The people's trust, as you can see in this chart by Statistica, indicates that trust in social media companies continues to remain very low in their ability to protect privacy, information and privacy. This also made more users aware of the privacy risk involved with using social media, not just Facebook. A lot of their trust was lost because users saw Facebook as being compliant in this case, as being willing participants to sell their data. According to the Sage Journal, 74% of Facebook users immediately following this case went and made privacy changes on their website or on their profiles. So even if they didn't decide to leave Facebook, they went in and made changes. Finally, let's look at some of the stakeholders for Facebook and how they are holding up and continue to operate. Other tech giants, such as Twitter, continue to face scrutiny along with Facebook and Instagram for their handling of data security. It continues to be a hot topic in the political climate, and will continue to be so for the very foreseeable future. Facebook also caused a lot of data protection laws to start circulating in Congress. It even caused the GDPR in Europe, which stands for General Data Protection Regulation, was a direct link to this situation happening with the Cambria Analytica Facebook scandal. And probably the biggest thing to come out of this entire scandal is the influencing of voters around elections, and just voters in general. As you are very well aware, election integrity is a very serious topic in this current political climate. Russian interference, things like the Stop the Steal in the 2020 election. These are becoming really heated debates and topics. So they're very important, and you can see some correlation between what Facebook did or allowed to happen with voter influencing from Cambria Analytica still continuing to play out in the current climate of politics. And there even raises the questions of what responsibilities do social media websites have in stopping the spread of misinformation. In an article published in the Library of Philosophy and Practice e-journal, it is suggested that consumers take control of their own data, and request that these companies get rid of the data that they are collecting and storing on them. It is your data, it's your right, and you should act on that right. In another article published by The Guardian, mentioned some of the legislation that's trying to get passed in regards to protecting data. It mentions the Honest Ads Act by Senator Mark Warren, which is trying to hold political ads shared online to the same standard that they are held for print media and for television media.